This episode of American Confidential is brought to you by Carmani Pest Control. For any pest issues or concerns you may have, call the Bug Bully. Summertime is coming. Your folks will be over a lot more for parties, cookouts, and birthdays. Don't embarrass yourself with ants, roaches, and mice. Call the Bug Bully today, 215-406-7649. Carmani Pest Control, aka the Bug Bullies, will give you a peace of mind as they will protect your home and property, as they are known for wearing footies, wearing PPP equipment, and they will clean up after themselves, unlike some of the more less professional companies. Call Carmani Pest Control today. What I'm going to show and talk about in this video is serious. It might make some people upset. That is not my intent. I mean, no disrespect to the individuals mentioned in this video or their families. The city of Philadelphia has lost 2,071 souls to murders since January 1st, 2020. In 2023, amid Philadelphia's ongoing gun violence crisis, 24 young people under the age of 18 were killed in shootings, which had become the #1 cause of death for kids across the country, it read in the Philadelphia Inquirer in an article that wrote about every child killed by gunfire last year. The article was titled Forever Young, written by Ellie Rushing. Some were as young as 2, still sleeping in cribs, focused on teddy bears, newly discovering the world around them. Others were teenagers who played on high school sports teams, served in student government, or dreamed of starting a business, the article said. It talked about 15-year-old DeWine Brown, who, according to the article, had been taught from a young age to always stand by the people he loved. So when gunshots rang out on the eve of July 4th, DeWine sprinted off his grandmother's porch to make sure his friend Ryan, who just walked down the street to get food, was okay. DeWine was one of 5 people killed when a man with a history of mental illness and clad in body armor opened fire in Southwest Philadelphia with a ghost gun. They also spoke of 14-year-old Nico Rivera. In February, Nico was shot 10 times outside of Samuel Felds High over what police say was an argument among teens. Police said a group of teens chased Nico and a friend through an apartment complex. Nico tripped, police said, and the shooters surrounded him. He died, but his friend got away. Just that quick, in Philadelphia, a life can be snatched away. 2-year-old Deora Porter Brown was just a toddler, newly walking and playing with Care Bears in her Brewery Town home. In July, her 14-year-old cousin, who police said had severe developmental disabilities and also lived in the home, found an unsecured handgun in an upstairs closet. He fired it by accident. The bullet struck the back of Deora's head. She died in her mother's arms on the way to the hospital. This is an ongoing theme of young people getting killed. One of the main driving factors are illegally carried firearms. In Philadelphia, people over 21 who pass a state background check can purchase as many handguns at a time as they want to. This law leads to straw purchases, which researchers, activists, law enforcement, and anyone who's been on the streets will tell you is how the most illegal guns end up on the streets. Last year, the city sued 3 firearms vendors, accusing them of knowingly allowing these illegal sales in their stores. Quote, "Their reckless business practices have resulted in the loss of life and many other preventable tragedies," Renee Garcia, litigation chair at the city law department, said. While conducting research for the lawsuit, the city was able to trace 150 crime guns back to these 3 shops, Garcia said. The 3 shops' legal representation for the case has not been named, and none of the 3 stores responded for requests for comment from WHYY News. Law enforcement officials believe there are many more illegally trafficked guns in circulation that haven't been discovered yet. But more than laws and politicians, I think we are failing our kids. Every person that has witnessed or been affected by gun violence looks at it differently. Most hate the callous nature that some of the youth have turned to. Some say Joe Rat is the driving factor. That can be debated, but the #1 thing I see that really makes me feel some type of way is when a kid gets killed and the people around them who could have helped them when they were alive react with broken hearts and say how it's such a shame. Lil Randy, who is 15, got shot on the SEPTA bus for dissing on by slash for an argument about dissing if someone posted on Philly subreddit. Now I know this is going to sound foreign to some of the more brainwashed people, but this kid did not have to die. There were multiple things going on that were either ignored or neglectfully missed in this child's life for this picture to ever come to fruition. Imagine, for any parent out there, that your kids were carrying around these type of guns and posting these things online and allegedly dissing other gang members, and you as a parent not knowing about it. It's unacceptable, and we need to start calling the parents out, or if the parents weren't there for whatever reason, hold the older people that know these kids more accountable. Teachers, social workers, aunts, uncles, etc. And to the people that killed this kid, you get the most blame, of course. If he was dissing your dead homie, is killing him really the only answer or resolve to this? Why not call his old heads and ask for him to chill, or for some type of resolution and get this shit squashed before it turned into what it did? Because I promise, if you're caught, you will regret this decision. This isn't me being naive and thinking that every beef can be squashed, but we have to recognize as a community and as a city that we failed this kid, that we failed every kid that is killed on the streets of Philadelphia. Dissing the dead, right or wrong, shouldn't be a death sentence. On the flip side, if you do diss the dead, there are crash outs more than willing to kill you for it and to make an example out of you. This is done to deter others from doing the same disrespectful behavior. But there is no scoreboard because we all lose in the end, especially the ones involved. Someone commented under the post, "By just seeing young boy around the neighborhood and before he was into all that when he was 11 and 12, I could tell he had nobody at home. Always dirty, asking for money, pumping gas. Little bro was from the get-go." So then they had a back and forth about what would happen if someone actually tried to help the young boy. Some were saying the kids would reject the help offered. Another person commented and said, 8 out of 10 of these old heads scared of the young boys. First thing that come out their mouth is, "I'm not playing with none of these young boys." Or a lot of the young guys been used to being taken advantage of by older dudes, so they don't know what's real or who's being genuine. These old heads don't want shit to do with the younger generation. All they do is try to downplay the young boys instead of giving them game.
Enormous tragedy this year as yet another high school student was gunned down, this time a 15-year-old riding the bus trying to make it home. I spoke with his mother about how she's grieving and trying to understand how this happened.
He was a special boy. You know, he was loved by young and old.
This is 15-year-old Randy Mills, small in stature but mighty in personality, his mom telling Fox 29. He's one of the latest shooting victims in the city of Philadelphia and remarkably the second Roxborough High School student killed by gunfire this year. He was gunned down on a SEPTA Route 23 bus near the 5200 block of Germantown Avenue late Wednesday night.
I got a call saying we believe Randy got shot. And I said, huh? And of course I was shocked.
Less than 48 hours later, his mother is now planning his funeral. She had to wait until Thursday morning to find out it was in fact her son and he was gone. What was the last thing he said to you?
He said, "I love you. I'll be home early. And what you cooking?"
She's never going to be able to make her son that hot, home-cooked meal ever again. But now she has words not just for the shooter, but for this man. Philadelphia police releasing surveillance footage of the suspected shooter and also a person of interest who Randy's mom says appears to rifle through Randy's body as he lay dying, looking for things to steal.
I feel like he deserves whatever comes to him because I see my son hand move as if he was trying to say, "Get off me," or try to something.
Help me.
Yes, and that's when I know my son didn't die instantly on there.
Make no mistake, this mother is composed but furious over losing her son and is demanding this person do the right thing now.
I would tell the shooter, you might as well just turn yourself in because
whatever this young boy did or didn't do, he deserves a shot at life. I know the way the streets look at it is, if he's old enough to pick up a gun, he's old enough to die from it. And that's kind of my point. Where is any old head or adult in this kid's life making sure he doesn't have to do that? Now, there is a possibility that he was a runaway problem child from the jump, I don't know any of his personal details, so I really don't know. What I do know is that firearms are the leading cause of death for children and teens ages 1 to 19 in the United States, including homicides, suicides, and unintentional injuries. In 2021, 64% of children who died by firearm died by homicide, with 84% of those victims being male and 50% being black, and 82.6% being aged 15 to 19. From 2018 to 21, the firearm death rate increased by 41%, and the child firearm mortality rate doubled from 2013 to 2021. The United States has the highest rate of child and teen firearm mortality among peer nations. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the channel more than you know. In the last couple videos on my channel, I talked about Jump Out BM's death. Either the store owners or someone at the police department leaked this, and their motivations are dubious in my opinion. But anyway, here we are. The tape has been shared around on multiple Instagrams and made its way onto Reddit, where I saw it. Namir Jernigan, just 19, and some of the most reckless drillers in the city, decided to slide. This camera catches the action as 4 people get out of the car. Jump Out BM is the first one out of the car and the first one around the corner of Harlan Street near 25th and Master on April 7th. As the other 3 amateur steppers began to shoot wildly and undisciplined, Jump Out is hit, seemingly by his own group. Black Hoodie is the first to recognize that Jump Out is hit before he even lets off a shot. Green Hoodie is the first to stop shooting. The 3 are in shock. Green Hoodie, who was originally the front passenger, runs back to the car to pull off, but when the other 2 don't follow him, he changes his mind. They can't lead their man. They are panicking. In the commotion, Green Hoodie tries to throw the car in the park but accidentally leaves it in neutral. As the 3 run to scoop their fallen friend, the car slowly rolls down the street. They get Jump Out BM in the car and pull off. This is one of the most embarrassing and sloppy drills I have ever seen on tape. It shows the recklessness and stupidity of some of these shooters out here today. Everything is wrong with this. They were sloppy, undisciplined, nervous, and just too hyped, shooting blindly down a block. Who knows who was down there? In the end, all they did was kill their own friend. Someone has to look his mom in the eye and live with this mistake. I don't show this for shock value or because this is a thing I think is cool. I show this because each person watching this right now has a decision to make every second of their life. Even if you are knee deep in drama, or maybe you were some of the people being shot at in this video. It does not have to continue. Blood being spilled and having to bury your folks is heartbreaking. PTSD, and especially the type you get from living in a war zone, is an understudied problem. Post-traumatic stress disorder is more prevalent in U.S. inner cities than in returning soldiers, and up to 1/3 of children living in violent urban neighborhoods may have PTSD. Violence in American inner cities can create warlike conditions, and the resulting trauma and PTSD is less understood than that of veterans returning home from war. As many as 1/3 of children living in our country's violent urban neighborhoods have PTSD, as I just said, according to recent research. And the country's top child trauma experts. We have to pay a lot more attention to this, said Dr. Victor Carrion, director of Stanford's Early Life Stress Research Program. PTSD basically feeds on avoidance. The more you avoid it, the worse it gets. Schools should be frontline in implementing counselors and therapists in this crisis. In cities like Philadelphia, which is plagued by gun violence, the relentless sound of police sirens and the roar of emergency vehicles often become a constant backdrop, especially in neighborhoods where crime is frequent. For the residents there, these sounds are so commonplace that they almost fade into the background, a normal part of everyday life that barely registers anymore. For the young people growing up in these areas, the impact of this violence cuts deep, leaving lasting trauma or PTSD. They live with a pervasive sense of unease that sticks with them, influencing their mental health and how they see the world. I'm gonna leave it there for now. Thanks for watching American Confidential, and until next time, be safe.